Alhamdulillahi wahda, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da, amma ba'd. We were discussing Imam Nawawi's Arbaeen, and we were going through the Muqaddimah, the introduction. So Imam Sahib mentioned after that, وَقَدْ اسْتَخْرَجْتُ I then وَقَدْ اسْتَخَرْتُ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى. So then I did istikhara to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Istikhara means to take Allah's view, the istikhara. Istikhara means to seek the goodness. So what is istikhara? One do the istishara before that. Generally, that's a recommendation. You have a consultation with someone, some counseling from people who know, have a bit of consultation with someone who knows the stuff, the areas, and they would advise you in the best possible way, the mashwara. Once that's done, then you do istikhara. Istikhara is when you read 2 rakat, you offer 2 nafil, anytime which is not disliked or haram, then after that you read this dua, Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmika wa astaqdiruka biqudratika wa as'aluka min fadlika al-azim fa innaka taqdir wa la aqdir wa ta'lam wa la a'lam wa anta 'allamul ghuyub. Allahumma in kunta hadha al-amra khayrun li fi dini wa ma'ashi wa 'aqibati amri faqdirhu li wa yassirhu li thumma barik li fi. وإن كنت تعلم أن هذا الأمر شر لي في ديني ومعاشي وعاقبة أمري فاصرفني واصرفني عنه ثم اقدر لي الخير حيث كان ثم ارضني به. كما قال, there's certain changes in different dua. The one I memorized a long time ago was this one, so I hope I read it correctly. But anyway, this is what I do normally, but there are a few changes in different narrations. So this is istikhara. Now people think that, oh, you need to have a dream about it. You don't have to have anything. It's a satisfaction in your mind and in your heart. You get happy with whatever you want to do. You just do what you've already got istishara done on, mashwara done on, and you feel like doing it, go ahead with that. Allah would put barakah in whatever you do. And if there was something that Allah does not want you to go through, Allah would turn you away from that through whichever way. You wouldn't need to worry about that. You don't need to maneuver it. Yeah, it may happen that your heart is not settled on this or that. You're still half and half. So then you can do istikhara for 3 days, for 7 days, 7 nights, days. You don't have to do it at night time. You could do any time of the day. As I said, other than the fact that when it's in makruh time for the prayers, 2 rakat. And then leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So getting someone else to do it, it is not sunnah. It is not sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu anhu say, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would teach us the dua of istikhara as he would teach us Quranic ayat. Means he was so much, stressing on this. So we should try our best to learn this dua, but at least keep it for all important matters of your life. Do istikhara. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for goodness. Istikhara literally means to ask for goodness. Ya Allah, put barakah in this. The meaning of the dua is likewise, oh Allah, you know it and I don't know. Whatever is good for me, give it to me. Make it good for my dunya, for my life, for my akhirah, everywhere. And if it's not good and it's not possible, please turn me away from it and give me something which is better. And remove my connection with that. I don't even feel inclined to it. Don't even regret about it. And we make dua. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you would never be those who do istikhara. They don't get upset about anything. They don't get frustrated, whatever they get. So he said, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah made me do that. It apparently looked bad, but this is what is right for me. So I wanted to go with this car and I got with that one with my istikhara actually, and this turned out to be bad for me. So do you know that you think that this is bad? This is actually good for you. That bad you see as bad is actually good for you. You don't know. You'll find out in future. I'll give you a quick example of that. And there are many, many stories that you could narrate in your own life. You would find many, many avenues which are, wow, there were people who were struggling and they were like, getting desperate to board the plane. And there were some people who actually asked someone else, please, if I don't go in this flight, I would lose my job. Can you? And then the person said, okay, I'm on my own. You can just go. That's fine. Okay. And they did it. And with that, what happened? Unfortunately, the plane got crashed. And the person who did, so it turned out to be good for the person who did it. Not saying that it turned out to be bad for the other one. Maybe it was good for him because, mashallah, he got a status of shaheed. But that person got, like, mashallah. So it's good for both because the situation is different. Allah knows what is the situation with which individual. And they should just stick with that. But that's why we do istikhara. Istikhara means to make make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, put barakah in it. Get me the best advice. So Allah advise you in terms of making you feel like doing certain things. And there's a short one as well. If you don't have time to do and you have to make a decision straight away, just say, Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Allahumma khirli wakhtarli. Anyway, so Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi said, as we've learned that the hadith has some weakness in it, then he said, وَقَدْ اسْتَخَّرْتُ, I did istikhara to Allah Ta'ala, Allah is maf'ul of Allah. Istikhara, so to help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get the best advice. في جمع 40 حديثا, in compiling 40 hadith, اقتداء بهؤلاء الأئمة الأعلام, following these noble, these famous scholars, the one we've just mentioned in the previous slide, where all of those imams like Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Muhammad ibn Aslam al-Tusi, Hassan ibn Sufyan al-Nasawi, Abu Bakr al-Ajurri, Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Ibrahim al-Daraqutni, Hakim, Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani, Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, Abu Sa'ad al-Malini, Abu Usman al-Sabuni, Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Ansari, Abu Bakr al-Bayhaqi, and many. So all of those people, when they did it, they're all masters of hadith and they're scholars and ulama. So I just followed their way after doing istikhara from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the a'immatul a'lam, and they are huffadul Islam. So biha'ulai a'immatul a'lami wa huffadul Islam. So for all the knowledge, a'lam, so all the masters of the knowledge, they're the master, and they're the memorizer of Islam, the protector of Islam. وقد اتفق العلماء على جواز العمل بالحديث الضعيف في فضائل الأعمال. And that is a very important point which Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi has raised, and you would discuss that in almost all the books of Usul al-Hadith. Unfortunately, this has become a problem whereby people started looking at hadith as sahih and da'if, where they think da'if means rejected and not hadith, or not true hadith, rather completely fake or wrong, and sahih is just sahih. And that's not the case, by the way. Da'if means it is weak according to the criteria that Ummah by and large agreed on, all those 5, although there's no ijma on that, but majority would consider it to be a good yardstick to identify a sahih hadith that has 5 specific attributes within it, the condition. There has to be those 5 conditions, but these are scholarly made. Muhaddisun made these specific conditions. For that, on that robust criteria, mashallah, man-made criteria, the hadith chain is weak. Not that the hadith is necessarily weak. That's number 1. Second, the hadith may be weak with chain, but the matan, the statement, is completely sound in accordance with many other hadiths to support it. This chain may be weak, but there are many other chains that would support and potentiate this one. And beyond that, a weak hadith is actually more than 50% chance that it is actually the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, depending on the level of its. I'm just giving an arbitrary number, depending on the level of those. So there are many hadiths which are very weak. Those are different. If the hadith is very weak, ضعيف جدا, or mawdu', which is fabricated, that's definitely haram to act on. We don't go there. But mildly weak, by the consensus, by the ulama, وقد اتفق العلماء, ulama agree على جواز العمل بالحديث الضعيف, on acting upon the weak narrations, on the permissibility of acting on the weak narrations. So ulama agree on the permissibility of acting on weak narrations in the matter of encouragement and discouragement, fadail al-a'mal, in the preferences of action, the action which is good, in nafl action, in just to encourage people to do something good. So this is a good action, nothing wrong with that. ومع هذا, and with that, فليس اعتمادي على هذا الحديث. And he said, even then, I'm not basing my judgment only on this particular hadith, بل على قوله تعالى, على قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, but on more, but on the sayings, other saying of في الأحاديث الصحيحة, the statement of Rasulullah على قوله عليه الصلاة والسلام في الأحاديث الصحيحة, many sahih hadiths which are ليبلغ الشاهد منكم الغائب. Let the present, the people who are witnessing this, should go and inform the other, take it to others, propagate this to others, take this statement of mine and tell others, convey this message to those who are not present. This is a command from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of Arafah, when he was doing the Hajj, and he gave this khutbah, Hajjatul Wada', final pilgrimage, farewell one, where he then at the end said this, that, pass this on to the people who are not present here. وقوله نظر الله امرأ سمع مقالتي فوعاها فأداها كما سمعها. May Allah bless him. May Allah bless the men. May Allah keep the face of this man ever shining and glowing. Keep him happy. Who? The one who heard my statement, maqalati, and then he memorized it, and then he presented it to someone else. He just conveyed it to someone else the way he heard it, like exactly the same way. He memorized and passed it on to next generation or someone else. So with that, you are conveying the hadith. You're saying these hadith, you're passing it on to the next generation. So there is clear instruction from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and advice and also encouragement to pass on good sayings, all the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to other people who are not present or who did not get it directly. So with that, conveying a hadith to someone else is perfectly fine. Even if the hadith that we've gone through in the beginning of this introductory note of Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi from his Arbaeen, what did he say? Well, this hadith where he said that whoever memorized 40 hadith or act upon it, he will be from the fuqaha, from the people who I would intercede on the day of judgment. So all those benefits mentioned there, the hadith is weak by consensus, but we're not talking about just that hadith. All these hadiths, other ahadiths which has been mentioned, they support the fact that the good ahadith and saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam should be propagated and passed on to other generations. So this is why he's doing that. ثم من العلماء من جمع الأربعين في أصول الدين, and then also from the ulama, from the scholars who compiled 40 from the usul al-din, some of them actually, what did they do? They took the essentials of deen. They took the 40 hadith, they compiled 40 hadith which deal with the foundation of deen, like aqaid. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي الْفُرُوعِ, some talk about the subsidiary matters, secondary matters. Some talk about like fiqh and other things. Some talk about وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي الْجِهَادِ, some collected 40 just about jihad, striving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي الزُّهْدِ, some just did on zuhud, Zuhud, renunciation, denouncing dunya, staying away from materialism. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak and others, they've compiled something like that. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي الْآدَابِ, some just collected 40 hadiths on adab, manners, propriety. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي الْخُطَبِ, some did that on the statement, khutbahs, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's speeches, the addresses on Jummah, on Eidain, on other places. وَكُلُّهَا مَقَاصِدُ صَالِحَةٌ, and all of these are good intentions. All of these are very good reasons and good intentions. Radiyallahu an qasibiha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with the intenders of these good intentions. So those who intended these, they are good. May Allah bless them all. وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ, so I saw, I opined, my intention, I thought, I thought of doing what? جمع 40 أهم من ذلك كله. I thought that compiling 40 hadith are actually even more important than all of that, all of what they've done. وهي 40 حديثا مشتملة على جميع ذلك. So I thought of compiling 40 hadith more important than all of that, which is 40 hadith, which is composed of all of these, like all of these areas. So what he's saying, when I'm compiling my 40 hadith, ulama has compiled 40 on a specific branch of deen or foundation of deen. I consider 40 to be like more, I actually took that as I'm taking one from each, a few from each of those different branches. I've taken hadith from every branch so that I have a more holistic and more comprehensive 40 hadith collection. وكل حديث منها قاعدة عظيمة من قواعد الدين, and every hadith. So وقد رأيت جمع 40. What I did, he said, that I just covered all of those areas, 40 hadith, which compile, which encapsulate all the different sciences, different ways, and all of these hadiths have got a very specific ruling and principle from the principles of deen. وقد وصفه العلماء بأن مدار الإسلام عليه أو نصف الإسلام أو ثلثه أو نحو ذلك. And ulama actually mention about those particular hadith, that this hadith is a third of deen, this hadith is half of deen, this is the foundation of deen. There are many hadiths like this. So what I did, I took Imam Nawawi saying, I compiled those ahadith from different areas. ثم ألتزم في هذه الأربعين, and then what I did, do the iltizam of me, I restricted myself to what specific thing, أن تكون صحيحا, that they should all be sahih hadith. I did not bring any weak hadith, although having a weak hadith in matters of encouragement is fine, as we just discussed. Yet he did the iltizam, he just made it a condition that I would bring only the sahih ahadith here. And the majority of that would be fi Sahihai al-Bukhari wa Muslim, from Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim. So those are the two most authentic collection. So I've just taken main bulk out of the 40 from these two. وَأَذْكُرُهَا مَحْذُوفَةَ الْأَحْسَانِ. And I would narrate the, from the hidden, or I would mention their chains which are hidden. So the way I would mention the ahadith, so I would narrate them without the chain. So I would not bring the chains with this. Normally, what he's trying to say, that normally when you have a hadith collection, you would have all long hadith from the narrator, from the first person, which is Imam Nawawi, for the sake of discussion, his book. He would bring hadith from him to his teacher, to his teacher, to his teacher, all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sahih Bukhari is like that. So it will start حدثنا عن فلان, حدثني, or أخبرني, something like that. So where Imam Muslim, Imam Bukhari, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, whoever, Imam Malik, when they compile their hadith collection, they would say from their, where they're part of the hadith, they heard from their teacher all the way back to Rasulullah. So you have a good, like, few lines talking about the chain of narration. So he said that I am going to memorize, or I'm going to mention these hadith. I'm going to narrate these 40 hadith, 40 plus, 40 hadith actually, but a couple more extra. I would mention those mahdhufat al-asanid, where the chain is being omitted, deleted. So the asanid would be deleted without the chain. Why? ليسهل حفظها, so that its memorization becomes easy. ويعم الانتفاع بها, and its benefit becomes more generalized, wider community. More people can memorize them, because the idea is that we memorize those 40, and without chain it will be easier. Just memorize the matan, don't have to memorize the chain. Inshallah ta'ala, if Allah will. ثم أتبعها بباب في ضبط خفي الألفاظها, and then I followed it with a chapter that covers some of the hidden words, like difficult words, خفي الألفاظها, some of the the way you write it. So the dhabt of those, the words that are not very clear, sometimes making it clear by some extra meaning, giving some extra meaning to the difficult words right at the end. So he would just give us some meaning to some of the words which he thinks, and the way it's written, some extra benefit of the certain words there to make it easy for people to understand. So he will follow it with a في ضبط خفي الفاظها. How do you write those? The words which may be it's not very common and might have a bit of a confusion about how it is pronounced. He would just make it clear by explaining it. وينبغي لكل راغب في الآخرة أن يعرف هذه الأحاديث, and it is required, it is expected, it should be the case that everyone who is interested in akhirah, who is راغب في الآخرة, who is inclined towards akhirah, life hereafter, أن يعرف هذه الأحاديث, that he get familiarized with these ahadith, that he knows these ahadith. مما اشتملت عليه من المهمات واحتوت عليه من التنبيه على جميع الطاعات وذلك ظاهر لمن تدبر. And why that is? Because this is compiled, this compilation has what is incorporated in it? Al-Muhimmat, the most important bits. The very, very specific and important ahadith are being collected here. So that is why everyone who is interested in life hereafter try to memorize, or at least know these ahadith, practice on those. It becomes their lifeline. So they get connected to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so these ahadith, they are composed of what? They consist of tanbih, which is encouragement and actually warning. So invigorating ideas to do things on being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For it just warns you about all the ta'at, all the good deeds, all the virtuous stuff that we should be working on. So it just highlights that. It warns you about all of those. So we need to know what is essential, basic stuff. And this will be very clear. This is clear to everyone who ponder over this, who ponder over the book. When you read it, you would know really, oh yes, definitely, all these hadiths. Whenever you do a hadith, you would say, you know what, definitely there's a lot of importance of this hadith in our lives. It's not like talking about something which might not be relevant to you in this time, maybe in those times, and maybe in future, but not perhaps related to you. For example, a person who is a businessman, he's interested in hadith about businessmen, but a farmer might not be as much, or a housewife might not be as much, or a student is not interested maybe in that one. So he's saying, I'm going to talk about something that is more likely that you would need for your life, and it's quite common, and everyone should be benefiting from that. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ اِعْتِمَادِي, and my trusting on Allah, وَإِلَيْهِ تَفْوِيضِي, and towards Him is my consignment, وَاسْتِنَادِي, and my trust, my leaning on, وَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ وَالنِّعْمَةِ, and for Him is all the praises and all the virtues. وَبِالتَّوْفِيقُ وَالْعِسْمَةِ, and with Him comes, through Him comes the ability to do good deeds, and isma, and protection. So I think that's where he ends the muqaddimah. So we've covered our muqaddimah, which is the introduction or preface or preamble of Imam Nawawi's Arba'in. Inshallah, next week we will start our first hadith and we go in turn, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy and help us to understand and learn from this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.